can believe it? My name is Amy Carlson. I'm a counselor here at Park Vista. And the topic of today's coffee talk is navigating the college application process, how to search for and apply to colleges and universities. Searching for and applying to the perfect college or university can seem like a daunting task. But with 5,300 colleges and universities in the US and over 100 in Florida alone, the truth is there are probably several schools that are a great fit for every student. There's no one-size-fits-all institution, and while you may often hear certain institutions referred to as a good school, the true definition of a good school is one that provides the students with all of the tools they need to be successful. Determining the one factor or combination of factors that are most important to the student and to your family can help narrow down the options to a manageable list of schools to which the student will be happy to apply and attend. We hope this presentation will demystify the process of searching and applying and help you as you evaluate the various characteristics of colleges and universities. First part of this presentation is factors to consider in evaluating colleges. So, like I said, there may be one factor that's very important to your family, or it may be a combination of factors, but I hope this section will help you think about what those things are that are important to your child and your family. First thing to consider when you're thinking about colleges is academic qualities, the type of college. Are you thinking about public or private institutions? Are you thinking about a religious school, a 2-year or 4-year, a university or college? A specialized college like an art school, a music school, a military academy. Another thing you may want to consider is admissions selectivity. The percentage of students offered admission both in regular and through early decision, and we'll be defining terms later on in the presentation. But early decision is a way of applying that is different than regular decision, and that's something that needs to be considered as well. Range of GPAs and standardized test scores that are generally accepted at each school is something you may want to consider. Curriculum, what majors are offered? How's the advisement? If your student is interested in going into the medical field, is there pre-medical advising at the school? The ACE and AP equivalency, are they going to give credit for ACE and AP classes taken in high school? Not all colleges do. So that's something you are going to have to look at through your research when you're looking at colleges. What are the strong departments at the school? What pre-professional training do they offer? What are the course requirements for admission? So for the large state universities, they want to see 2 years of a foreign language. That's not necessarily true at the smaller private schools. So that's another thing that you may want to look at when you're looking at what your child has done in high school and what the college is going to require when they apply. The intellectual atmosphere, the flexibility or structure of study. Some schools offer, students can create their own major. Other schools have very structured ways of moving through the curriculum. Is it a highly political campus? Are they very into social and world issues on the campus? The percentage of students who return after freshman year and percentage of students who graduate in 4 years or more than 4 years is something that's important to look at. Because if students are dropping out at a really high rate, it says something about the intellectual atmosphere of the school. So you do want to look at those numbers as well. Student-faculty ratio. Is your student going to thrive in a school where there are very large lecture halls and they don't have access to a professor, or where graduate students are working as professors in the classroom and are also working on their own degrees, so they're not going to have as much time to dedicate to individual student needs? That's something you may want to consider when you're thinking about the needs of your child. Academic assistance, academic advising, tutoring, learning disabled programs. If your student has a learning disability, you want to be sure that there are resources available at that school to address the needs of your child. Career preparation. What are they going to do after college? What kind of resources are available on campus to prepare them for the next steps after college? Other things you may want to consider: geographic location. Obviously, it's not easy to get out of Florida. So you do have to consider how easy is it to get to the school. And that plays into the cost of the school as well, because it's the cost of travel back and forth if the student wants to come home for holidays, if you want to visit. Rural, suburban, or large city. These are really different kinds of campuses. A large city campus may be spread out over many city blocks, while a more rural campus will be just the campus and there's really not a whole lot to do outside of campus. And that's something that students should consider as well. Of course, climate is a factor. Do you want to be in 6 feet of snow? Or do you like to be on the beach all year round? That's something that students should ask themselves. Size is another thing that's really important. Some students don't do well at very large universities. They really need the more personalized attention of a small university. They get overwhelmed. But some students don't want to see the same people every day, and they really thrive in that larger atmosphere. So that's something that you can consider. Sports as well. What sports are offered? Are they D1, D2, D3? And how easy is it to play club sports at the school? Student body is something else you may want to consider as far as diversity, geographic diversity, cultural diversity, ethnic and racial and religious diversity. Facilities should always be taken into consideration. What are the dorms like? Do students move off campus in sophomore year, or do they tend to stay in the dorms throughout their college career? What are the eating plan options at the school? This is something that may be really important to some families. If a student has really specific dietary needs, you have to look into that to see if those needs are going to be met on the campus. Of course, laboratories, health services, counseling services all go into the facilities consideration. Campus activities. What will the student be able to get involved in on campus? Is there a thriving social life on campus, or do students mostly go off campus and do things around the town? Of course, cost is probably the biggest factor that families consider when looking at colleges, but there are a lot of ways that you can think about cost in the process. The first is the impact on admission. Some schools are need blind while others are need aware. That means that some colleges will take into consideration your ability to pay as they make the admission decision. Some people feel like that's unfair, like you shouldn't consider a student's ability to pay when considering whether or not you'll admit them. But colleges will argue that if you don't have the ability to pay, it's really worse to admit the student and then for the student not to be able to attend because of financial reasons. So if they know that they can't provide the aid that you need, they may deny the student for that reason. Although that, of course, is really painful for a student if that's a school that they want to go to, the colleges consider that to be doing what's in the best interest of the student. Merit-based scholarships are scholarships that are based on test scores, academics, sometimes community service, and schools have different ways that they distribute that aid. Sometimes there's a separate application, and sometimes they will, with the acceptance letter, they'll say, congratulations, you got in, and here are the scholarships we're offering you because of your performance in high school. So that's something you may want to look into. Do they give merit aid, or is it all based on need? Cost per year. That's not just tuition and fees. That's also room and board, personal expenses, travel costs, and how important is cost to you and your family? And how is aid packaged? When you get the financial aid package, there's going to be a percentage that's grants, loans, work study, any combination of those three things. And you want to know how much do they give as far as need-based aid and merit-based aid, grants, loans, and work study, and how willing is the student to work on campus or take out loans to offset the costs that are not going to be covered by the institution. Application application options. So there are several different ways you're going to hear about as you go through this process that students can apply to colleges. Rolling admissions means that completed applications are reviewed in the order in which they're received, and colleges accept and deny until their space is filled. So it's really advantageous if a school has rolling admissions to apply as early as possible. For the Florida, large state universities in Florida, applications should be in before October 15th. Many of them are rolling, and the later you apply, the less your chances are of getting in. Early decision is a binding contract that you make with a school. So this is something that really should be considered very carefully before it's undertaken. With early decision, what the student is telling the college is that if I am accepted, I will definitely attend. That has its ups and downs. One thing that you need to consider with early decision is the student ready to make that kind of commitment? Is this the dream school and absolutely the school the school that the student wants to go to? Because if they apply early decision, they have to go there. Another thing you have to consider with early decision is the cost going to be a factor? Early decision admission does not guarantee that you're going to get the financial aid that you need. So if a student is accepted early decision and you find that you can't cover the cost, you're going to have to break that binding contract. And that's just, it's not the way to go. So it actually can really hurt the school, the high school, because the counselors also have to sign a document to say, yes, this student definitely will attend if accepted. So that's something to really take into consideration. ED2, early decision 2, is a second round of early decision. So if the student doesn't get into their first choice early decision school, they can apply ED2. That is also a binding contract. It's just later in the year. I just want to say also with rolling admissions and early decision, they're usually notified about the decision in December, which is really early in the year, and a lot of students like that because it just takes the pressure off them. They know they have somewhere to go. But the early action plan does the same thing without being a binding contract. With early action, the student can apply by the early deadline, hear back early, and still have choices of where they may want to attend. So it's not a binding contract like early decision. Other application options, restrictive and single choice early action. Restrictive early action means that you're not bound to attend if admitted, but you cannot apply early action to other colleges. So restrictive early action and single choice early action are really used by the most selective private schools in the country. Harvard, Yale, and Stanford have this plan, and it prohibits you from applying to any other early action or early decision program. Early notification and priority plan, they operate the same as a non-binding early action plan. The priority deadline is usually for scholarship consideration. January admission is not something you would hear about before you apply, but it's an admission decision that may be made if the student is right on the bubble and they just want to see more and they just want them to do one semester before they go into college, they may offer January admission. That's something you may want to ask the school when you go visit or as you do your research. Might they offer January admission if the student's statistics are lower than what's usually accepted? Is that something they may offer? Might they offer a guaranteed transfer? That's when they'll offer you transfer admission as a sophomore after you complete a successful year at another institution. So what the school is basically saying is, we like you, we just want to see more. We want to make sure that you can take on the curriculum of a college before you come to our school. Summer admission is also something that may be offered for students who do not exactly meet the admission criteria, but they see some potential in the student. So they will attend a summer session before the fall and they'll have to maintain a grade point average in order to continue into the fall semester. This next section deals with the college search and how you actually do that. Internet resources are one of the primary sources for college information and applications. Colleges always have home pages which provide in-depth details about their programs, academic majors, financial aid, student life, and they often provide virtual tours, which are really great if you can't make it to campus, or if you just want to get an idea of if you even want to visit the campus, you can do a virtual tour. There are hundreds of web resources out there. I really love Big Future by the College Board because the College Board is the company that administers the PSAT, the SAT, and the APs, and they're in constant contact with the colleges. So the Big Future by College Board does not have any rumors or opinions. It has facts that are provided directly to the College Board from the college. So I'm going to show you a short video just about some of the basics about Big Future and how you can use that to begin your college search.
With thousands of colleges and universities out there, finding the right one can feel overwhelming. Big Future's college search is a powerful but easy-to-use tool that helps you figure out what's important and then find colleges that match. For students who aren't sure where to start, there's a simple tutorial that walks through college options. Start by selecting the criteria that's most important to you, in categories ranging from location, cost, and majors to housing and campus diversity. Go in any order and skip the questions you aren't sure of. You can answer as many or as few questions as you like. As soon as you make a selection, College Search instantly generates results behind the question window. You can immediately see the impact of your search criteria on the number of matches and on the colleges that appear. All your selections are summarized on the left, so you always know what you're searching on. For every question, there's guidance available to help you understand your options and make an informed choice. Videos play right within the tool, providing perspective from real students and expert advice.
Students often think that you have to know what you want to major in or what you want to do for the rest of your life in order to do your college search process, and that is just so far from the truth.
For most students, some college preferences are must-haves. The college has to have them, while other preferences are just wants. Big Future's college search helps you prioritize your criteria. Each college preference has a slider where you can weigh the importance. You can drag the slider from must to want, or even don't care. Again, you can instantly see how this impacts your matches. Play around until you're happy with your settings. When you've decided you're interested in a college, you can drag the college's card down to a personal organizer at the bottom of every page. To save more than a few colleges, you'll need to log in. If you don't already have an account, creating one is free and easy. Clicking on individual schools brings up comprehensive information presented in bold, engaging graphics and charts. On the At a Glance page, a checklist shows you which of your preferences the college matches and which it doesn't. Once you've set your preferences, you can compare any college this way. Then you can explore other things that interest you, like available majors or student-faculty ratios. Campus Life provides in-depth information on the student body, housing, and campus activities, quickly identifying unique characteristics of each school. An academic tracker shows you how you compare to any school. You can enter your high school courses and tests you've taken and see if you're on track to meet application requirements or need to adjust your plan. Using the tabs on top, you can enter your SAT and ACT scores, your GPA, and other stats. This will show you how you stack up to other students who apply. Then, by saving your scores, you can easily see these stats when viewing other schools. After you decide you are interested in a school, you can scroll up and easily add it to your college list with one click. College Search on Big Future is a powerful resource for college planning, combining simple selections with integrated guidance to create a college list that fits every student. And once you have your list in hand, Big Future does even more to keep you on the path to college.
I'm sorry that this is probably a little difficult to see, so A couple of things that they didn't mention in that video that I think are really, really great features of Big Future. I just chose University of Miami as an example because University of Miami does offer early action and early decision and regular decision. So students can apply non-binding early action, which is an early deadline that does not require them to attend. They can apply early decision, which is a binding contract, or they can apply a regular decision. So I want to show you something about these numbers. First of all, at the bottom you can see there, it says, well maybe you probably can't see, but it says the school is very selective. It admits 32% of applicants. So 32% overall admission rate. But if you break down these numbers even further, you look at the early decision rate, there were 1,232 early decision applicants, and 687 of those applications were accepted. So of the early decision applicants, 56% are accepted. It makes a huge difference. It's almost double the overall acceptance rate. And that's because students are committing themselves to the school. A lot of schools do something called tracking interest. They are looking at whether you visited campus, whether you've emailed the local rep to say how interested you are. They even go as far as to see if the student is opening the emails that are sent to them. Early decision is the biggest show of interest because it says, I will definitely attend. And if you look at the early action rate of acceptance, there were 14,633 early action applications, and 6,484 of those were accepted. So of the early action applications, 44% were accepted. Again, it's much higher than the overall acceptance rate. So it's always advantageous to take an early plan if it's appropriate for the student. Another thing about Big Futures that I really love is this tab that says what's important. Here, the colleges tell you exactly what's important to them. So what this says under very important for University of Miami, and of course this varies for every school, but in general, academic GPA is always in there. It's always in the very important. They also say application essay, character and personal qualities, class rank, extracurricular activities, recommendations, rigor of the secondary school record, and standardized test scores are very important. What's also important at University of Miami? Talent and ability, volunteer work, and work experience. A lot of students don't realize that colleges really value when you have a job in high school. Some students will say, well, yeah, I work at Starbucks, but that doesn't matter. Well, no, that really matters. That shows colleges that you're helping your family out with your finances and you're being mature and handling a job at the same time while you're handling high school. Other things that are considered, they tell you here, alumni relation. So they may consider whether a parent has graduated from the school, and most importantly, if parents are donors, if we're being honest. They're also going to consider whether the student is first generation. Why is that important? Because that shows the school that the student has been able to overcome a certain amount of diversity. If the student's parents did not graduate from college, they're making assumptions about the other aspects that may have affected that student's life. So first generation students are very interesting to a lot of colleges. Geographical residence is also considered at University of Miami. What that means is they want diversity, not just cultural diversity or racial diversity. They want geographical diversity. They want kids from Idaho. You know, they want kids from all different states because they want to have a very rich campus experience for all of their students. Level of applicants' interest, they tell you right here, they're tracking interest. They want to see if you visited campus, if you opened their emails, if you contacted the rep after a visit and told the rep how much you love the campus. That's how they gauge the student's level of interest. And they also do consider racial and ethnic status in admissions, again, for the diversity of the incoming class. Now, I have this guy pointing so vigorously at this one little square here. because this is a note directly from the college that tells you what is the most important to them. And it says transcript, standardized test scores, letters of recommendation, extracurricular activities, and essay are most important. And again, every school is going to have different priorities, but this is one of the reasons why I love this site, because they tell you right there exactly what their priorities are, and that can really help you as you craft your application package. Another great internet resource is our Park Vista School Counseling Department webpage. We have a college information section there. We have a great college admissions handbook, information for visiting Florida universities, military academy information. We have information about the Florida College bus tour that we do every year, on-site college admissions, which we also do every year. I think this year we had four different schools that came here and sat in the computer lab and worked on the applications with our students. They submitted their applications right there, and they had an idea right there of whether or not they were going to be in that school. And also the college visits to campus, which we'll talk about a little later, are also there. The state university admission matrix. So there's a lot of great information available to you right on our website. Part 3 is about campus visits and other types of live research. Campus visits are fun and informative and offer the best way to investigate a college and the only real way to get a feel of the school. It really makes the college search process come alive. And students should see different types and sizes of campuses. Sometimes students will hear that such and such school is a good school. They step foot on campus and they hate it. So that's why the college, and also vice versa. They may think this isn't a good school, and they go on campus and they're completely blown away by what's offered on the campus. So the college visit is so important, but it's also important to remember that the campus visit is for the student. Sometimes I like to tell parents, if you really want your student to love a school, stay in the car. Because if you take the lead in the campus visit, it's just, teenagers don't like that, and colleges don't like to see that either. So, and this really goes for every aspect of the college application process. The more ownership that a student takes of the process, the less likely the student is to end up back on your couch a year later. So really let this belong to the student, let the student take the lead, and kind of step back and be there to support and help. But remember that it is for the student. Planning a visit, you should always contact the college in advance, look at their website, and they may require a reservation for tours or info sessions, so you want to make sure you do that in advance. Try to visit when classes are in session. Try to have the students sit in on a class if possible. That's always really helpful. Visiting campus on Saturday morning might not be the best idea because it's just going to be quiet. The student won't really get a feel for what the students are doing on campus because they're all sleeping. Some colleges will provide an overnight experience. And you may also want to inquire about the possibility of an interview while you're on campus. Something to note about when you visit a college campus and they do an interview, that's what's called an informative interview. So that's just to inform the student of what's available. That's not where they're going to actually take notes and put it in the student file. It would just be informational. It won't be evaluative. The evaluative interview, bless you, if schools offer them during the application process, they'll be evaluative. When you're visiting campus, they'll just be informational. Also, before you go, educate yourself as much as possible. Prepare questions that you want answered. Do get directions and find out where to park because some of these campuses are huge and you don't want to miss the tour that you scheduled months in advance because you didn't figure this stuff out. It may seem obvious, but I do like to just mention that. Be sure to sign in because, again, colleges do track interest and they want to know that you visited campus. So make sure that the student goes and signs in. Take tours of any particular areas of interest. And ask around as you're walking around. Ask other students about their experiences on campus. Things to look for while you're on campus. Facilities. How do things look on campus? Do they look new, or do they look like kind of things haven't been updated in a while? Are they doing construction? Construction's always a really good sign on a college campus because it means they're not getting ready to shut down anytime soon. Do they offer religious services? How nice do things look? Are the dorms comfortable? Are they noisy? Is there freshman housing? Is there enough housing? Are they private? Are they pleasant? Are they quiet enough for studying? Look at the cafeteria. How is the food? How flexible is the plan? Again, does the cafeteria offer the foods that may meet your student's dietary needs if your student has specific dietary needs? Athletics. Those facilities you definitely want to take a look at if that's something that's important to your student and the family. Student services. Do they offer academic counseling, personal counseling, mental health counseling, career counseling? And assessing the overall atmosphere. How does the student feel on campus? Does it feel like it's a good fit? Do you feel like you could call this your home for the next 4 years or more? Is something that the student really wants to think about. Also, looking at bulletin boards and kiosks can tell you a lot about the culture of the school. Looking at the school newspaper, what's that big headline on the front of the school newspaper? Is it highly politicized in one way or the other? Is that something that the student is going to be comfortable with? What kinds of issues are being discussed on campus? Is lab equipment up to date and plentiful? Is it clean? What's the surrounding town and city like? Does it look kind of scary? Do you think you're going to want your student to be going out at night around that campus? So these are all things you may want to take into consideration as you're looking around campus. Questions to ask when students talk to other students. What do you like most about this college? What do you like least about this college? What first attracted you? Would you still choose if you had it all to do again? How many hours a week do you have to study? Is it easy to get the classes you want? It's not always easy to get the classes you want. Sometimes students are, as midnight on that day, they're scrambling to get those certain classes and the other ones are left behind. So you want to know if that's happening. How available are campus jobs and what are the campus jobs? Can you access your professors outside of class? What do they do on the weekends? Is it difficult to study in your dorm room? Is it quiet? And what's the library like? Some college libraries are really interesting. Sometimes they have different floors. Some are silent, and some you can talk, and some you can eat. So that's something that students should really explore as well. Additional tips, get directions, of course. Plan enough time if you're visiting multiple colleges. And, trust your feelings. Students should trust their feelings and not the opinions of others. Like I said, sometimes you'll hear that a school is a good school, or a great school, or the best school. But what really matters is how does the student feel when they're on campus? Because the best school is the school that is right for that student, not the one that your grandma or your uncle said is the best school. Do bring a notebook and write down, take notes on each campus because they do blur together eventually. If you visit a whole bunch, you get home and you can't remember where that cool thing was that you saw. Try not to let outside circumstances influence you on a college tour. Sometimes if it's a really rainy, nasty day, it can change your impression of a college campus. You're like, oh, this is horrible, it's so gray. Try to think that it's just that day. Or your tour guide might not be the nicest person on earth. Your tour guide might be having a really bad day. But try to take all of the other factors into consideration as you're looking at the school. And again, remember that the tour is for the student. The student should be the one to sign in and ask questions and explore the campus and see what they want to see on the campus. We also have college reps visit Park Vista every year. We have dozens of representatives from colleges and universities that visit our campus, and students have to sign up at least 2 days in advance to meet with representatives. Some tips of what students should and should not do with these reps on the campus. They should come prepared with intelligent questions that can't be easily answered by visiting the website. So they should already come prepared to ask questions that they have not been able to find the answer to. They should also keep in mind that the person visiting our campus is likely the same person who's going to be reading their application. So students want to be on their best behavior when they meet with these reps. They want to really represent themselves in the best way possible, because when that application comes across the desk of the reps, they're going to remember that guy that put his feet up on the table and was chewing gum, and it's not going to work in their favor. Students should come meet the rep even if they can't stay. If they have a test or something, the reps will absolutely understand that, but they should still come down, shake hands, and say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm really interested in this school, but I have a test right now. I have to run. I just wanted to come introduce myself." Reps love that. They love to see that students are taking their academics seriously. And do email the rep after the visit to thank them for visiting campus and to express interest in the school. What students should not do with these visits, they shouldn't use the visits as an excuse to miss class, obviously. They should not behave in a manner that reflects poorly on themselves or on our school. Also, they shouldn't use it as a substitute for a campus visit. Campus visit should still be done even if you've met the rep who will possibly be reading your application. And of course, they shouldn't interrupt the representative with questions or comments until the rep invites them to do so. Components of the application package. So we hear a lot about the college application, but that's actually multiple pieces that come together to form what's known as the application package. So the first part of the application package is the application itself. There are three types of college applications: the Common App, the Coalition App, and then a single app, which is just the school has its own application. The Common App and the Coalition App allow you to apply to multiple schools at once. For the Florida State universities, the ones in yellow here are the ones that use multiple different kinds of apps. The ones in white only use that application. So you can see, if a student is applying to FSU, they can use the Common App or the Coalition App. If a student is applying to NCF, they can only use the Common App. UF only takes the Coalition App. So students may be using multiple applications as they apply to different colleges and universities, or they may only use one. It depends on where they're applying. Differences between the Common App and the Coalition App. The Common App is much older. Colleges are much more familiar with the Common App. The Common App has 7 essay prompts, 650 word maximum. And the activities section of the Common App allows for 10 activities, 150 characters. Excuse me. Note that that's not 150 words, it's 150 characters, which is much different. The Coalition App is much newer. The Coalition App was released in 2016. It's much more flexible for multimedia and essay upload. So if a student has an art portfolio or some kind of video that they'd like to share with the college, the Coalition App is more flexible for that sort of thing. They have 5 essay prompts with a 500 to 550 word guideline, but colleges can also set their own word limit on the Coalition App. And it allows for 8 activities with up to 255 characters, as opposed to 10 activities with 150 characters on the Common App. The transcript is the other extremely important part of the application package.